today, that's what we need to figure out is, but we improve it through our camp back there, because that's going to be where the stanchion is. Hello, friends and relations. So I was working on that paddock to separate the calf in this barn up here in the willow house pasture, and I got the gate mostly done. And then in classic style, I need to start working on something else. So that's not super critical right now because we need to move the cows to a different pasture. So by the time I get the paddock finished, they'll be in a different pasture anyway. So today, that's what we need to figure out is how to build some rotational paddocks in the burrow house pasture. The problem with that pasture is there's not much shade anywhere. So not only do we have to separate or make some different paddocks, we also need to make those paddocks in such a way as to give the cows access to some shade, as well as a central watering point and a stanchion to use to milk on, and a way to separate the calf. So I'm gonna go make a plan, figure out how to do that, and go from there. So we'll see. Hopefully, if it goes really well, we'll finish that today, because the next week I'm going to be spending almost the whole week, well, as much time as possible, really rebuilding the greenhouse. So I really need to get this done today. The reason being, so we need to get the cows off this pasture so it recovers. It's not recovering as quickly as I was hoping, but it's definitely greening up there at the top, which is where they've been off the longest. So they have some more here, maybe a day or two, and then they've got in here, this section, they've got a couple days, 2-3 days maybe, and then one more paddock down here. It got grazed pretty heavily. So, we've got 2 or 3 days in there. So, looking at maybe a week that they can stay in here. And then we need to get them into the burrow house pasture. Okay, so after much discussion, we've figured out a plan for separating this cottonwood pasture, which is this one I'm walking in. See? It's not the best, but we're going to spend a lot of time trying to improve it, a couple years. But we improve it through rotational grazing with animals, so that's the goal. So we have figured out how we're going to separate this pasture into some paddocks, and basically we're going to create a walkway. They'll have some shade, they'll have some water, they'll have the milking stanchion, and that stanchion is close to a gate, so that's good for us, and it should work out. We'll see. So here is the section that's going to turn into the walkway. It's got this hill in it, so it's kind of difficult to use anyway. We're going to do that all the way down to that's called Caterpillar Camp, but it's going to get turned into a storage shed for the cows. Make the walking path basically up like this, up to there, down this way, and so everything over here will be free access all the time, and then from here this way will be fenced off so that they'll be able to get into those. You know, it'll be a paddock here, a line here, and maybe a line here, you know, all the way down, so the paddocks run this way. So you'll have a paddock, you know, starting here and going that direction. And it'll be, you know, 4, 5, 6 of them, something like that. They'll have to go through these pastures really quickly, these paddocks really quickly, because there's not I mean, there's decent food, but it's not going to last real long. What that means for me is that we've figured this system out. Paka is going to collect material for all that. The kids are cleaning up that caterpillar camp back there, because that's going to be where the stanchion is. And Paka and the boys are working on that, getting this pasture going. And I am going to head back into the greenhouse and start working on the greenhouse, because really need to get that going, or else I'm going to be in trouble. So here's the big project of the week for me. I'm taking this whole next week off to try and get this accomplished. So you can see some of these windows, like this one here, and this one and this one are pretty heavily like scaled up, so you don't see through them. I mean, you just always see a film on them, which is obnoxious. And that's because they're double pane windows, but they have delaminated from each other and then gotten a bunch of water in there and then misted up, and over the course of 15-20 years built up this nasty residue on the inside that you can't clean off because it's on the inside. So we're going to take all those out, clean them up, relaminate them together, put them back in. But that's not the hardest part. The big problem is this kind of stuff. So the header and the footer are both super rotted out, and a lot of that's because of how this bed has grown. It's just always damp in there, and then there's always water hitting those windows on the inside, rolling down the windows, collecting on the footer. So I've got a header rotted out and a footer rotted out. So I've got to go inside, jack up the roof, pull all of this wall out, not break all the windows, clean all the windows, replace the header and the footer, and most of these uprights are also rotted down here at the bottom. Do that and put it all back in. And then when I'm done, it'll be awesome. But it's gonna be a lot of work. So yeah, here's the inside of the greenhouse. It grows plants, it's cool. But it doesn't function as a solarium well. It doesn't regulate heat and cool in our house anymore. And the first part of getting it to regulate properly is to replace all of this wall with wood that is not rotten out. And then I can remove all of this stuff, take it somewhere, rebuild this whole area. It's just a total remodel of this room. Put more plants in that are that will be growing for food or for medicine or whatever we end up doing, and then putting it all back together. It's going to be awesome, but it's going to be so much work. Starting to make some progress. Not much progress, but some. All right, so lunchtime. Got this mostly cleared out. And this mostly cleared out. Stop for lunch, finish cleaning this up, and then start unscrewing all of this rotten wood and uncover this area down here eventually. So making good progress in here. Come out here and sneak a video of Edmund working. He's clearing out all this grass so we can get to the wall. I'm sure we could mow it, but I wanted him to do it with his muscles. All right, so getting a lot closer. This side's cleaned out. So eventually in this corner right here, I'm gonna build like a sculpture garden that is made out of these rocks. It'll be real tall, and it'll have, see if you can see through these windows here. Some of those cool plants. I knew what they were called this morning, and I forgot by now. But anyway, I'll put them over here, and then getting close to done over here. Get all the big stuff moved out. Got this, all the wood slats taken off. Disconnected this water line and then rebuilt it so that we still have water for these plants. And then come out here, and Edmund finished getting all this out of the way, except for that little corner over there. But I think there's a bush in there. So, we're making progress. And then, of course, we have Paka. Always doing who knows what. Picking up a limb with the fork. Yep, not sure. All right, so end of day today. We got this mostly cleaned up. Great progress, so that's nice.